Hi, I'm Ralph Demetrius from Planetary Calendars, and this is one of our astro portraits. It's actually the conclusion of a series that I've been doing on women actresses that play action parts. It's been fascinating. We looked at the charts of Jessica Chastain, Gal Gadot, Uma Thurman, just a lot of different actors that play these types of roles. Even Raquel Welch, she was one of the first of the women to play it, and from a different era. Sigourney Weaver. We've seen this preponderance of strong Mercury and Mars. Strong Mercury and Mars come up again and again and again. The third thing that comes up, of course, is Sagittarius or Jupiter. Jupiter becomes very, very strong because it's athletic. But that Mercury and Mars, that willingness to move things along, to be physical, to be aggressive, to engage without really thinking about it, which is the talent of Mercury and Mars. It's like kids; they engage without thinking about it. Shows up again and again and again in these roles. Aries, very, very prominent. Scorpio, very prominent. Gemini, very prominent. And Virgo. So the four signs of those two, the four extrovert signs of those two planets. The other thing that does show up sometimes is Capricorn, which is the exaltation position of Mars, that's the extrovert best friend, and Aquarius, which also shows up as the extrovert, best friend of Mercury. So those show up a lot. It's been a fascinating series, because the difference, for instance, from them and Kate Winslet, who has the sun, moon, and rising in Libra, is dramatic in terms of the charts and the types of roles that they're chosen for, are attracted to. It's interesting as I was, really doing my best to wrap this up because it's been a long series and it's been fun, but I don't want to bore people with just one more action character. I was looking at other possible people, and it was interesting that, for instance, the other day we were watching the movie Charlie's Angels, and you have three different or four different actresses there, but the person who really did the most physical stuff, I mean, one of them did fight scenes, but one that did really got in the deep and dirty. I mean, jumped on horses and got trapped in a big machine and that kind of stuff, was Kristen Stewart. And she's done a lot of roles like this, these action roles. Well, she has the classic chart for it. She has Aries, Mars ruled extrovert sign for the sun position, and Gemini rising. Now, she also has something, so you got Mars and Mercury there, right? She also has another component there, which you do see a lot. She has Libra moon. Now, Sigourney Weaver had a Libran sun. Gal Gadot, a Venus-ruled sun. Gal Gadot, of course, has a Taurian sun. Those are the Venus-ruled signs, the extrovert signs. Now, Gal Gadot has a lot of Gemini in her chart. And Sigourney Weaver has other components in her chart that allow her to, stand out in that way. But Kristen Stewart really stands out. Now, there's two other people we would have loved to have done charts of, but we didn't have a rising sign. Now, sometimes we do an analysis of someone where we don't have a rising sign and we postulate, what would the rising be? And Lonnie and I will sit down with the charts and look at their careers and look at their physicality and say, okay, well, this makes sense. We, pivot the chart around and say, okay, well, this would make sense in terms of their career. And a lot of these very modern actresses and actors have most of the planets up high in the sky. Their life is lived out in the open, which is something that's different from older actors. Oftentimes actresses would have had just one or two planets up high. Most of their life was actually very private. And then they just kind of stood out in a certain area. You saw that quite commonly with older actresses, or earlier generation. Even I think Julie Roberts' chart is more like that. Halle Berry, I mean, there's not that much a younger generation, and yet their charts are more designed like that. It's much more of a private life. They're not out in the open. But today, because of social media and paparazzi and all that, these actors and actresses, their lives are so much out in the open. When I went looking for photos for these people, I would find thousands upon thousands of photos. Many of these people have probably more photos taken of themselves in a month than we have of ourselves in a lifetime. It's just bizarre. Two other people, though, very, very interesting. One was Vanessa Kirby. She's a English actress. She's done a lot of dramatic roles. She's been quite successful. But one of the roles we really noticed her in was in Hobbs and Shaw, which was very much an action part. I mean, it was very physical. The stuff she did was really quite remarkable. What's her chart like? She has the sun in Aries, just like Kristen Stewart. Sun in Aries. Aries, Jessica Chastain, Sun in Aries. Those Aries women just love to get into it. She has the moon in Taurus, so Venus ruled. Now realize they are actresses. They are artists. Of course Venus is going to be strong. They're beautiful. Of course Venus is going to be strong. They're attractive. Of course. But what else is going on? She has Venus. That Venus side is in Gemini. That's like Gal Gadot. Venus in Gemini. It's playful. It's quick. It likes to get into stuff. And this is interesting. She has Mars in Aquarius, the same as Kristen Stewart. That's a Saturn-ruled sign. It's also the sign in which Mercury is exalted. Now, because it's Saturnian, because it has this mercurial connection, it tends to make people who are very good with working with technology. So they do well in a movie set. They would do much better in a movie set than on a stage set, you might say, in a theatrical set, because they do well in that highly electrified environment. But that Venus in Gemini, Sun in Aries, Moon in Taurus, that's enough to make an action actress if they have that propensity. The other one was Karen Gillan, and we've seen her in a number of different things. She's been in the Jumanji series. She's been in a couple of those. She's just, she does very, very physical stuff. Her chart's different. Hers is more like the Sagittarians in our group, because she is born with the sun in Sagittarius. She has the moon in Pisces. That's not a classic position in this group. I think it might be the only moon in Pisces that we've actually seen. Once again, we don't know the rising. So she could have, I don't know, we've thought about maybe Virgo rising. That's shown up a number of times. But the moon in Pisces. But what's interesting about that, it means both the sun and the moon are in the traditional extrovert signs of Jupiter. So high levels of athletic skill. That willingness to stretch and be athletic, and that comes really easily to her. What about the action stuff? What's the Mars connection? I mean, we don't see a Mercury connection. What's the Mars connection? Where's Mercury? In Scorpio, along with Pluto and Mars. So Mars is in the rulership position, the feminine rulership position. Mars in Scorpio is all about feminine power. And when you watch her in these action roles, she really projects that. She projects that sense of feminine power, and Mercury is there as well as Pluto. And when you get Pluto and Mars in the same sign like that, it supercharges the Mars. And you see that in her, but it comes through that beautiful kind of Jupiterian, how did this happen? Oh, I didn't realize I knocked you over. Sorry about that. It comes through that filter. It would be wonderful to know what her rising is. Like I said, we have some ideas about it, but these are kind of classic cases. They really make the argument in many ways. These three young women really make the argument. But it's been a fascinating series. I hope you found it useful. It very much fits into our book. These are the calendars here, but our book, Planetary Calendar Astrology, which is the companion book to go along with the calendar that explains how we do our charts and the basics of astrology for people who don't really grasp all the basics, the essential parts of the system. But we describe Mercury and Mars like on the chess set, the pawns, because they're the ones that will go out in front and get into stuff in the same way that Mercury, our mind, our eyes, our nervous system is always looking out there, and our hands, our physical body is always reacting faster than we're sometimes comfortable with. That's that willingness to engage that you see so much in these fantastic charts. So I hope you found that series interesting. We're moving on to a different series now. Thanks for joining us. You can come find us at Planetary Calendar Astrology at YouTube. Please subscribe and push the little red button. You'll get notifications of when we do our forecasts on every Friday for the coming week, and our portraits, which are every Tuesday. You can also go to planetarycalendar.com, where you can find our calendars. The pocket version is proving really popular this year. And we now have the 2022, so you could be watching this in 2028 for all I know. So until next time, enjoy and be well.